Okay, we go. Asshole Podcast, episode 6. Opinions like assholes, everyone got one. So today I invite you to hear ours. Ours will be a panel I would say maybe 6 individuals, and they'll come in shortly. Right now we have Mrs. Ichima Baker Morales with us. I'll start off. Today's discussion is be parenting, a discussion on parenting. I'll start off with my name. My name is Willie Prather. I have a 12-year-old son. I have a few years of work in childcare with children. I have minimum education in early childhood education field. And I usually do this podcast and I just talk shit, come in here, give my opinion. Opinions are like assholes, everyone got one. But every now and then I would like to bring it together with other individuals and share some insight on hopefully some topics that hopefully people can learn from or we can learn from ourselves. And I start off with parenting styles. It's one of the questions that I have, one of the different parenting styles. I believe there to be 4 parenting styles. One is authoritative, which is a demanding style. And it's more so do as I say, more direct. Then you have your authoritative style, positive and open relationship. I think I'm more of an authoritative parent. Even though I can't be an authoritarian, but I'm usually an authoritative parent because I like to, I like to give my child his right to his own opinion, his right to his own feelings, his right to being himself, which is one of the reasons why I named him Isaiah Prather rather than Willie. He could have been a junior. Everybody wanted him to be a junior. I wanted him to have his own direction, his own style, his own personality, his own name. So that's why I did that. But I think I could be, and then we have actually. Let me finish the different styles. Then we have a submissive style, which is believe kids will be kids. Kind of let children do as they may in a sense, and just hope that they'll be kids. We have an uninvolved style, which is little guidance, little nurture, and little attention. It's kind of like the kid fends for himself. And in some aspects, I guess all of these styles have their upsides to it, more downsides to the permissive and the uninvolved. Then there's upside, but I guess there's still some upside to it. Yeah, I've always like for my child to understand his wrongs. I just don't like to scold him or punish him without him understanding. And the purpose of any type of disciplinary with me is for him to understand, to get better, so the next time around, he would have the know-how, he would have the intelligence to make a better decision. And we have similarities in parenting styles. As my parents or guardians, I'm similar in a sense because I have an open relationship. My son, he's able to come to me, or just children in general, even the children that I work with. I try to be open, try to be down to earth, try to be relatable. Just offer them my wisdom and insight more so than trying to scold them and instruct them to do different things. But my mother, she was a very open individual. She was very open. She didn't hide much from us. But saying that, she didn't hide much from us, but she didn't necessarily tell us about much either. It was more so do as I say and not as I do situation. So I guess I'm still in the sense of that I'm pretty open. The difference is, I probably just named the difference in that same sentence, is that I'm more expressive. I just don't believe that a child or anyone should just do what you say or just behave a certain way or just go about and be submissive. And I think we all have a right to what we believe we have our right to. to so I'll ask you, Jima, her parenting style.
So I think actually we're kind of very aligned in certain senses. I'm not authoritarian, but I'm definitely authoritative. I believe that kids need rules and they need routines and things of that nature, but I also think that it's really important to explain to them why. Right. So I actually just had a little thing with the little girl just now because she's begging for candy. And my response is no, but it's because she had candy yesterday. And,
Yes.
she's young, but she already has one permanent tooth that just came in. So we have to be really aware now for oral hygiene. So I have rules about how much candy they can have. But I also think it's really important that like we talk to them about the rules. So it's not just doesn't seem like draconian. I don't just say things just to say things. Like I'm thinking things all the way through. And I think it's just also really important for her to hear me modeling that kind of thinking so that she understands that every single thing has an end goal. Every rule, every action, there's a whole series of consequences, and she should be able to articulate them at some point in time in her life. So I think that's something that we definitely have in common.
Absolutely. Um, do you see any similarities as your parenting from your parents and when you was growing up, how your parents parented you?
Not at all. I mean, but I mean, they were very much the type of, do as I say, not as I do, very quick to hit. I mean, it was, very authoritarian, I can't say the word now.
Yeah, they tongue twisters, right?
And it was very draconian sometimes with them and their punishments. It was very like, I said it once, and like they're never gonna say it again. But every time you break the rule, they'll just, you'll get punished. And there was I can't remember very often my mother explaining why our rule was the way the rule was. The rule was just it was. There was no explanation or anything like that. And I know for me as a child, I struggled with that, which is why I got in trouble very frequently because my mother used to say that I was just so argumentative, but it wasn't argumentative. I was just trying to understand why she was saying the things she was doing, saying the things she said, and doing the things she was doing, but she always refused to explain those things to me. And I found that truly unfair. And so then I would question and ask and like harass her. And that used to make her even more upset, honestly. But I know for me now, being a mother, remembering that about my own life, it is really important to me that my kids understand why I move the way that I move and the ways in which I come to decisions about what I will allow them to do and won't allow them to do.
Absolutely. I think a lot of, I think our parents are part of that. They just didn't know. I don't think they lived in the same society and environments that we live in. I don't think it wasn't quite, they wasn't ready. The world wasn't ready yet, everything in due time. Yeah. As I get older, I try to always take that into consideration that, it wasn't necessarily something that they was doing to be spiteful or demanding. I just think it was just what they were taught and, what was said to be the norm. It was kind of just what was passed down until you get, more knowledge, and then you can kind of try to change the things and, like you said, do differently, pass down different traits, different understandings.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say discipline says, do you spank your child?
Honestly, we don't. I mean, I think I probably hit like a mark in his hand like once or twice when he was very young, like if he was going to touch like an outlet or something like that. But, I understand like it's one of the tools in people's parenting toolbox, but for me, it shouldn't be the first tool. But I know growing up, like definitely was, right?
Yeah.
And so I had decided a long time ago that I would not, that's just not me, you know? And I mean, to be frank, you know, I think I get more traction out of like just talking to my kids. Just telling them know that I'm disappointed in their behavior, that, you know, I'm really hurt by their do things. Like, I feel like that to me is way more effective. And there are other ways to have consequences, right? So, you know, there might be things that they were looking forward to that we might not do, or there might have been something that they wanted that they won't get any longer. I think there's so many more effective consequences than hitting.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree. I talked to my son earlier today, and I asked him because I don't believe I've ever spanked him before. He's he's for the most part, he's been a pretty easy child actually. He's been a pretty easy child. Like you said, I get a way better response, a way better. He gets a way better understanding of me just talking to him. Normally, you know, that's doesn't really need too much more than that. Um, you know, I do believe in taking, you know, taking items away, such as, you know, if he had the cell phone, I'll take cell phones away from him sometimes, you know, given certain situations. Um, I like to make him read a lot. I like to make him read as a form of, I don't want to call it punishment, even though he sees it that way, but I like to make him read. But I can't say that I'm totally against spanking because I'm not. I had a good deal involvement with raising my nieces and nephews, and I would say one of my nephews most definitely uh, he had to learn physically. He had you had to reach out and touch him, so to speak. He had to know that it was real, you know. So you really it was you know. So I'm not against a spanking, but even then, I will always talk to him. I will always allow him to understand what he was getting, you know, the spanking for. You know, try to give him, like I said, better knowledge to make better decisions. I think overall, it worked, but I think the talking to him probably worked even more. Yeah, I'm sure he didn't want to get beat anymore, but I think him understanding that I just wasn't doing it, you know, to be mean or just wasn't doing it, you know, to hurt him or anything. I think he got a better understanding of things. We have someone else who joined us. I'm not totally sure who it is because who is I don't know, supposed to say Thill, says Thill, Thill. I'm not too sure who just recently joined in.
It's me, it's Christy. I'm not sure why it's saying that, but it's me.
Okay, what's up, Christy?
How are you guys?
Hi.
Can you guys see me or no?
Yes, I can see you. I have my camera off just because my kids are being crazy in the background, but I can see you.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, so we jumped ahead a little bit and we jumped into parenting styles
And discipline.
And discipline. So if you want to, excuse me, give us, you know, your insight on your parenting styles and your disciplinary actions. Feel free, please.
I would like to think myself as I do authoritative parenting, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I say that is because I would say with my older two, I was definitely authoritarian. I didn't care how they felt. It didn't matter. They didn't have a voice. They were to be seen and not heard. And that was just how it was when I had two. And don't get me wrong, they do pretty well. My oldest she does pretty good. My second, they've had their times when I've had to use discipline, you know, spanking.
Yeah.
But my youngest three, I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, I just don't have it in me anymore. So and also I do know that their feelings do matter because sometimes I feel bad when I'm talking to my oldest two and they don't want to say certain things. Yeah. I'm like, no, just tell me, you know, because at the end of the day, I might not like what you're going to say, but I do want to know how you feel, because that is important, even though we are the parents. So like I said, with my youngest three, I definitely am strict, but spanking them, not so often, because I try to explain stuff to them, because I realize that they are children. And even though they might know right from wrong, they don't know why something is wrong.
Absolutely.
So for me, and sometimes with their dad too, I have to tell them, just, we have to tell them why they're getting in trouble, or we have to tell them what it is, because otherwise they're not going to know. We can spank them all day and say, oh yeah, I'm going to spank you because you did X, Y, Z, but they don't know why that's wrong. And they're going to do it again because they don't have any understanding of it. So with them, I do try to talk. And my oldest two think that I'm soft now. They say, oh, you got soft. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, because I beat y'all to death. But
I'm tired now.
But like I said, it's a totally different generation also. They just don't. I've seen my godchildren spanked, or I would spank them myself. And that just made them stronger. Some kids,
Exactly. I know.
really does not help. I mean, they get really strong and really, I mean, one time my goddaughter told her mother, her mom told her to do something, and she laughed at her and she said, you do it. And her mom got a belt and she was just laughing like, okay, game on. Like, it's okay. So sometimes it just really doesn't work. It really depends on the child, but I try not to spank them too much because it doesn't work. That just makes them resentful, I think.
Yeah.
And angry.
And I think you touched on something that was really important in terms of whether or not they understand, because I think that's been a thing, honestly, about being a teacher, for both my partner and I, we're both teachers, learning just about like child psychology, understanding that like, it takes such a long time for kids to, one, understand right from wrong, but then two, be able to act on that knowledge, right? Because they learn what's right and wrong very easy, but it's very hard for them to not give in to temptation. And that takes a long time for their brain to develop that capacity to say, okay, right from wrong, now choose the right. It's, right from wrong, what you gonna do, right? Like that's what my 5-year-old is right now. Like she knows, but it's still it's a challenge for her. And I have to, as somebody who now knows better, I have to really understand that and be mindful of that when I'm, giving her consequences for making the wrong choice, right? Because I know she in her deepest heart of hearts wants to, but she also is not like able to. And that's something different. And that's something that as a parent with that kind of knowledge, like I have to take that into account. And like, I think for me, that's what also prevents me from hitting them. Cause I'm just like, but I know they're not ready to make these kinds of decisions. And, there's so much temptation in all these ways. So like my job as a parent is to make sure I control their environment, right? Don't put them in predicaments where like, they're going to have to like make choices that they're not prepared to make as yet.
That's interesting. I see people do it all the time, but I've never really heard anybody voice, controlling their child environment to better dictate the outcome of things. But that was pretty cool, pretty interesting to take along. Just controlling your child environment and controlling their environments. I see it all the time, but I don't even know if parents are aware that they're doing it or they just trying to. Well, maybe they are, but So how about therapy? Are we for child therapy and evaluations, or the taboo? Us being Black folks, our children not supposed to go to therapy. Is that something that we're for, or we're against? Me personally, like I said, I'm for it, but like Ijima expressed earlier, psychologically, sometimes our children aren't quite where we think they should be, and so they really don't have the understanding of some of the things they're doing, or sometimes they right along. Some of the things that they are doing are within their age range and what they're supposed to be doing at that time. So I think we need to understand exactly what it is that we're looking for when we're sending them off for evaluation and therapy. But I don't think it's taboo. I also believe that if we can kind of like keep it in-house, maybe, find a therapist that's a friend of a family, or, somewhere where we're not necessarily in the system, so to speak. And there's actually there's actually a positive effort to help them and not just to bunch them in a group.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone else want to speak on therapy or evaluations?
I'll say I'm not, of course, an advocate for the system. Let's say that. However, I think because it's happened to one of my children, and something happened and I didn't know about it, and she was acting out, and it got really, really bad to like anxiety, depression, like really, really bad. And her dad was just like, oh, she needs to see a doctor, blah, blah, blah. And, she was saying the same thing. I'm like, okay. I'm like, no, you don't. You just need to try to figure out what's wrong and try to work from there. But of course, I'm saying that as a 36, 37-year-old dog. So for me, it's easy to know what's wrong and try to fix it. But for a child, not so much. So she ended up going to therapy. And I would say that therapy definitely helped. However, the first thing they try to do is put them on medication. And it's like they don't even want to talk to you unless you're on medication, and that was my biggest issue. And me and her father had a difference as far as that goes. But of course, me trying to just keep the peace and make things easy, I said, okay, we're going to go with this route for a while. Since this is what you guys think you want, if this is what's needed, then this is what we'll do. We'll try this. And I'll go with it for now. It was the worst mistake ever. The worst mistake ever. It was like with the medication, and then you're talking to an individual counselor, and then you're talking to other people. Because, with the therapy, they want you to do group therapy, which is fine, but everybody doesn't have the same problems. So it was like she was taking on so much stuff from other people. She was always sad. She was always angry. She was always this. It was always something. And the medication just amped it up like 100 times. Mm-hmm. So that was the issue. So I ended up having to take her off of the medication. She came off of the medication and she just saw a therapist. She didn't do group therapy. She just saw individual, and that did help. And that definitely worked for her. But I think that in therapy, like I sort of agree with you, Tony. I think that it has to be a family friend or someone that can come maybe to the house to be a little bit more personable in,stead of categorizing each child. I mean, it's just like they have like a system almost like, and they know what category they want to put your child in. They're just going with the masses. They don't really think individually. They're like, oh, well, this is you have symptoms of this. You only saw them for one day or two sessions. How do you know that? They can be telling you anything. And a lot of times when you do have teenagers or children that, I would say really nowadays, kids are so smart. They know exactly what to say. They go to school with people that might, do certain things, and they know what to say and they know what to do. And it was just really bad. And when we moved back, that was in Virginia. When we moved back to Maryland, she hadn't seen a therapist or anything, and she's been fine. And it was just like, okay, to me, it was like almost like a phase, but I think that she needed that time to speak to somebody to really get everything out and understand why she was feeling this way and how to cope with it, because the coping skills really helped. That was one of the things that helped her the most, because then she can explore things that she likes, because she didn't even know what she liked to do. So that helped her when she was angry or when she was sad, when, it really helped her. So in a way, I'm with it, but the medication part I'm not with. And it's just like, if they're a therapist, that's just what they aim for, because that's how they get paid, basically. So that's just my thoughts on that.
So I do agree. I think medication for younger people in particular, I think, unless they're at the point where like they're hurting themselves. I mean, like, I've had a lot of students who have, tried to commit suicide, or like they're cutters, things like that. Like for kids who are harming themselves, I think as a parent, you have to, really think through like, okay, can I get them on this medication short time before like they hurt themselves permanently, right? I think that's a different situation. And, depression is pretty, like, I think at that teenage years, like it's something. I mean, I'm so glad to hear that, you all were able to find someone who was able to give your child some coping strategies, which, you know, they're able to employ at this point in time. So as you said, like, you know, depression and anxiety isn't so much of a thing, but I think, like you said, just those coping strategies and learning that language is so important for kids. And I think that's something that does happen in therapy, but honestly, I think that's something that should be happening, you know, yes, in therapy, that's fine. But I think it's also a problem within a lot of communities of color, not just like, you know, African-American. I think, you know, like diasporic Black, I mean, like, you know, Willie, like we're Black, but, you know, well, not you, but, you know, like my family, like, you know, we're Black, but we're not from here. But I think we have, you know, sort of like that post-colonial stance on like, you know, therapy of any kind, right? Where, you know, like we reject that as like a thing that, you know, that's for white people. That's for like the white colonialist, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas sometimes our kids need support to learn how to speak through those feelings and be able to think about, okay, when I like knowing the difference between, like, so many of my students don't know the difference between hunger and anger, right? You know, like how crazy is that? Like for a teenager, I mean, like, you know, they're growing so fast and like they're so angry. And I'm like, okay, why don't you sit down for half a second and have a snack? And like, and I can just see their whole body relax, right? I mean, I think, you know, learning like all those nuances of emotion and learning, okay, how do I cope? Okay, maybe you don't need a snack, but maybe you need a hug, or maybe, you know, we can go for a run real quick around the track because maybe you just need to move your body. So I think those are conversations that should be happening like on a larger scale. But I think, you know, if you're concerned about your child, if your child has more challenges, I do think seeing a therapist is warranted. But I agree with you. I think medication, like, you have to make some decisions as a family when it comes to that.
Yeah, and the bad thing is, I'm not going to say I blame myself, but sometimes you think, wow, that's why I said with my oldest two, I was really strict, and I know they were scared to tell me anything. But I try to keep it open, but when things happen, they probably were thinking, oh no, if I tell her this, I'm going to get in trouble. I don't want to tell her. And I just think it just builds up and builds up. And like you said, I think conversations need to be had, and they need to know that you won't always get in trouble for everything you tell me, even if it's wrong. Because that's what, like I said, my youngest, they'll lie about something and then they'll get in trouble. And then the next time I'll ask them something, and I know they did it. And I'm like, did you do this? And they'll look at me like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
But don't do it again. You know, and then they're like, okay, you know, but I don't know. It's just, it has to be open lines of communication, and your kids have to sort of know that they won't get in trouble for things, even when it's bad, because they won't be able to tell you anything.
Let's skip around a little bit opposed to actually what was outlined. Since we're on communication, I'm going to jump into communication. How is your communication with your child? Is it opening, more closed-ended, or demanding? How is communication with your parents? Is there anything that you would do differently? For me, I like to think I have an open and nurturing relationship with my son. Like you said, I try to keep it open because regardless of whatever it may be, good, bad, or ugly, I would like for him to come to me and feel open enough to come to me and feel comfortable, and you know, just allow him to know that he has someone in his corner. He has somebody that's there. You know, I'm not going to always agree with him. I'm not going to always make him think that he's right. More so than none, I probably make him think that he's wrong, and I got to work on that a little bit. But not necessarily wrong, but, you know, he always can get better. You know, you can always get better, you know what I'm saying? So I'm always pushing him in that sense. I like to keep it open. I think with my parents, well, my mother in particular, I think I probably had a too open of communication. You know, my mother was more so of you know, of a friend. You know, she was either the authoritarian, do as I say, or, you know, she was friendly. You know, there may be something there, but that's a whole nother topic too, of why she was the way that she was there. But yeah, I like to stay open. I believe he's open. We have, you know, tough discussions. You know, we've had those discussions. I don't really know no pointers to give nobody, but just jump right into it. That's the only way I know how to really do things, is to jump right into it. You know, and kind of meet them where they are. You know, see what they understand and what they don't understand, and kind of build on their understanding, and don't really try to go too far over their head, and try not to, you know, talk to them as if they don't understand as well, to try to get understanding, meet them where they are. But um, yeah, that's for me in communication. How are you guys communication with your children and your parents? They can go. Christy, you're up. So you want to comment there?
Um, my communication, like I said, I like to be pretty open. With my oldest two, they usually tell me the most important stuff. The little stuff that I don't know, that I guess teenagers will talk about, or my oldest is 20, so with you know, personal stuff, they pretty much talk to each other. Now, if it's something serious, there was an issue with my two oldest daughters. They were having it where my second daughter thought my oldest daughter wasn't hanging out with her enough. She was more with her boyfriend, and she was this and she was that. And my oldest daughter came to me and she actually asked me, you know, like, do you think this? Do you think that? And I was shocked that she even came to me, but I was happy that she did. And my second daughter, she had already told me anyway about it. And I try to talk to them and, you know, make them feel comfortable. And I try to give them a lot of information. My three youngest, I like to think the same thing. I'm pretty open. There's not much, I mean, there's nothing really to hide in here. We're in here all 24/7 now. But I mean, anything, they usually come to me and tell me everything, which is annoying. But I guess I'm happy about it. My parents, not so much. Growing up, my dad was definitely do as I say, but he never spanked me. But we never had conversations about anything. And I mean anything. But my mom was.
Yeah, I don't think we did either. Not where it mattered anyway. Not to the point it mattered. Maybe like just throw a little stuff out there, but nothing really that stuck. I'm sorry.
Right. And I felt, when I had kids, I felt like I would never be like that because, like I said, I was a young child. My mom didn't even speak to me about puberty or about none of that. Yeah. So I never spoke to them about anything. When I got pregnant, they didn't know until I was 6 months pregnant. Mm-hmm. They didn't notice. They didn't ask. I didn't tell. You know, like I felt more comfortable at that time with my boyfriend's mother than I did with my own parents, because everything with them was just like what they said was law. You know my dad, so he's like, you couldn't tell him nothing. Like, so we just didn't have they communicated to me. I didn't communicate to them really. And like I said, the only communication was what I was to do. That was all. Other than that, there was really no communication. So I guess that's why I try to be so open with my kids and try to talk to them about certain stuff. And like you said, you tell them something and see if they get it or what they understand, and you sort of go from there. But I would never be to my kids how my parents were to me. I'm grateful for them and I do love them because they made me who I am, but it seemed like that wasn't the way to go. And I didn't find that out until, of course, adulthood, late in adulthood at that. So.
Yeah, see, I learned a lot from my parents from doing things the wrong way than I did from them doing the right way. But either way, or you gotta take it how it comes, but especially as you get older and to understand. Side note, your dad used to see me in the building and he used to give me a couple of dollars, sweep down the buildings and the stairs and the front and everything like that. He used to put me on, show me, that there was legal ways at all times. I always had different ways to make a couple of dollars. You know what I'm saying? I never felt like I was restricted or not restricted, but I don't know. But I never felt like I had to do the negative shit. You know what I'm saying? to make a couple dollars. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, he's good in that aspect, but again, I think even so, like you were a friend of the family, and he would tell you that. He wouldn't even tell me that, but of course you were a boy then, and you're going to be a man, so maybe he was teaching you that. So he couldn't teach me, but even still, he could have still said, hey, because I could have still been out here doing anything to try to make money. But with him, he always made sure I had everything I needed, so I didn't want for anything. So I didn't even wonder, oh, let me see if I can make a couple, because I would always ask him. And no matter if I was, getting bad grades in school or whatever, he would always make sure it happened. So, but I still felt like you should have told me that when I was young, still. Because now sometimes I can be reckless with money. You know what I mean? Like, okay, because he didn't tell me.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It happens that way. They say you gotta get it how you can get it,
Yeah.
Ijima, we'll have to leave shortly. I don't know if you want to touch on anything before you leave.
I mean, yeah, I think the communication's the same. I hear exactly what you're saying. My mother was very much like, she didn't talk to me about stuff, but she'd give me a book, right? She'd be like, oh, you're very smart. Here's this book on this thing, right? So like, that's how I learned about puberty. That's how I learned about sex. She's like, here, read this book and don't ask me any questions. So, like with my kids, like, I talk to them very openly about like bodies, especially like body safety. I think working in a school, you become hyper aware of like how many kids are abused. So like, I just want them to know all their body parts, learn they can say no, they don't have to give people hugs, like, that they can learn how to communicate like their own wants and desires about their own body, but also understand my expectations about their bodies too, right? My son, he's still young. He just turned 9, so he's still young, but he's getting to that middle school age where like things can get really crazy. So, I think for me, open communication is so important. And I think I agree with you because I didn't have it in the way that I would have wanted it. It makes me hyper aware of like what I want it to look like now that I'm the mother.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Next up, we have family and community engagement. For this part, it's just more so, just asking if your child is an active part of the household or the family. Are they included in daily routines and practices, chores, hygienes, things that just teaching them and allow them to know that they're part of a bigger picture, that they're part of a community, a society, a family, and then there's roles, to be governed by. A touch on family game time or just family time. I just think as parents, we're the first teachers that our children whatever know, and their communication, interacting that they learn at home is probably will not be most beneficial, but it's their first encounters of how to conduct themselves, in larger environments and different environments and groups. Like I said, school life, academics, extracurricular. Ever since my child was in school, I tried to be very active. Before I was ever had any type of formal knowledge of anything. I just felt that that my presence there would help him grow. Would help him feel secure, in an environment that can be a little bit insecure, an environment that can be overwhelming, just to know that, like I said, that someone's there to help him along in those aspects. Just observing, make sure that his social and emotional competence is there, that, he gets along with his peers well, with adults, he communicates well, express proper emotions, there's not too exaggerant, too low, just monitor them. That's my take on how I feel about family community engagement. I think to start them young, to give them structure, to understand that, like I said, they're part of a bigger picture, and let them understand that the ecosystem at the end.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, like, I'm very structured. Like, I structure out my whole days. Like, if you look at my calendar, like Monday through Friday, my entire days are set. And
Yeah.
I have a very similar approach with my kids. So they know that we clean a little bit every single day, but Friday evenings, they do like deep cleaning. And then Friday nights and Saturday nights, like, we all hang out together and we play games and watch movies late into the night, right? Like, those are some things that are important to me. I try and do meditation in the morning with them, like affirmations and stuff like that. We play a lot of like board games and stuff together. And we do, well, before all of this, right, we do like community service activities and, things like that so that they understand like there's a relationship between them and the rest of the larger world. And I think those things are important because I think honestly, to be frank, I think especially for Black kids, like they need to know that like they are a community that can also help people. Like, I feel like the media has a stereotype that like Black people are always getting handouts. They're always like waiting for somebody to give them something. But I want to make it to know that they themselves are so powerful and they have things that they can offer the world at hand. So that's why to me, like volunteering is really important for them. Just learning how to be like helpful contributors to society. That's also really important for me, that they know that. But I agree. I think it's about like them understanding their place in society, but also understanding that just because society thinks that they're a certain way, that's not necessarily true. They get to determine who they are and how great they will be.
Absolutely.
And I'm sorry, on that note, I have to run. It's about to be dinner time for us here, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to meet you, virtually.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too.
All right. Have a good evening.
You as well.
Take care. And then there was 2.
Yes.
It's all good.
I mean, I would say here, where are we? The kids definitely have chores. Even from my oldest, who is not here every day. When she does come home, she knows her and her sister take turns doing certain things. I have 2 of the youngest also doing chores nightly. My 3-year-old, she hasn't even grasped the understanding of cleaning just yet. So she helps with nothing but mess. But everyone else definitely has to help around the house. And I always tell them, like sometimes when things are done, I'm like, you want somebody to come in your house and be like, oh my gosh, this house is disgusting. I always tell them that, like, you don't want nobody to come in your house. I said, this is how they're going to see it. So when they come in here, your job has to be done. Or they're going to say, oh no, they don't want to come over here. So I definitely make them do that. I'm not going to say we have a specific time for family game night or anything like that, because they're in my face 24/7. Literally, I have to tell them, get away from me. Like, give me a break. Give me a second. So we're always, around each other, watching movies. My 17-year-old, she'll interact with us most of the time, but half of the time too, she's in her room. But if we're doing something as a family, watching a movie or going somewhere, a lot of times we'll take them out. Because for me, I'm just like, even though the board games are fun and we do play those here and there, but we've been in the house all day. We can go to a park or we can go for a walk. We do that a lot. I take a walk probably, if not every other day, I would say every 3 days. Like if it goes that long, but typically I have to get them out at least once a day. And that's our time to bond and, our little family walk or whatever. Now the school thing, like I said, I tell them all the time, school is important because that's what they say. You have to go to school to get good grades. If you want to go to college, you have to get good grades. I definitely try to push that, but ultimately, I think it's just up to the child. I'm not going to say up to the child, but I want them to understand that they don't have to do what society wants them to do. You don't have to go to college if you don't want to. If you decide you want to be a cook, you can go to a culinary school. If you don't have to actually go to college to do everything you want to do. I definitely push in their head, you don't want to work for somebody else. I tell them you have to at first, but the ultimate goal is never to work for someone else. You want them to work for you. And I I instilled that in their head a lot, to the point where we had a conversation. We were joking around with one of my daughters. She's about to be 10. And she said, we were saying, who's going to hire you if you're acting like that? Because she was eating all crazy. And she was like, hire me? Hiring them. And we were like, oh, excuse me. Let me step back. In my mind, I'm like, okay, at least I know for sure.
That's what's up.
You know what I mean? So I try to just, I don't want to make education is important. I don't want to downplay it, but I don't want to make them feel like they have to go the way that society wants them to go. They can go do what they want to do in life. Because that's how we were programmed, to go to college and you gotta go. And then when you don't go, you feel like, damn, I don't think I did what I was supposed to do. Or, then you start feeling bad about yourself, when that's not for everybody. So that's my take on education. I want them to make their own mind up about that.
Yeah. Education, like you said, I most definitely believe it's important. I believe that we should be as well-rounded as possible. I do also know that, the academic side of education is not always, it's not for everybody. I do know, that's why the theory, I don't know, but it's a Gardner theory of multiple intelligence, and it speaks on, different intelligence that this guy have come to. We have linguistics intelligence. People are smart with words. And we have, the logical, the mathematics, the intelligence, the academic side of things. But then we also have, people that's picture smart or artistic, or people that body kinetics, that they're good athletes, they're good with their body. People that are just visionaries, they're good at vision, they're good musically, they have music intelligence. It's just the Gardner theory of multiple intelligence. It pretty much says to me that, kind of like they say Einstein said that everybody's intelligent, but if you're expecting a fish to climb a tree, then you may think that he's stupid. You know what I'm saying? So we pretty much just gotta understand what it is that drives them, that brings out the best in them. But it may not always be, school. And a lot of times, especially in this day and time, like I said, the more we start to understand things, the less it seems like more individuals are going the traditional, college, university route. Like you said, there's a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people are finding a livable wages in trades without all the student loans and shit and all the extra work that you got to do. Because, one thing for me, I started community college very late. I was 35, some shit like that. And a part of it was, I always feel like not to talk about it more, but I see a lot of people, that didn't graduated. They have multiple degrees and this, that, and other, but they don't got the common sense that God gave a Billy Goat. It's like they've been brainwashed. I had an individual tell me one day, years ago, when I should have been going to college, I was expressing, it was a little bit in my early 20s, I was expressing to a white guy, Jewish guy, and he was just like, he called me T, like, T, don't go to school. He was like, it's just going to dumb you down. He said, you're one of the most intelligent individuals that I've ever met. It's going to dumb you down. He said, I'm in a class right now. It's on common sense. He said, first, let's just think about that. I'm in a class on common sense. He said, secondly, it's teaching me how to not use my common sense. I took offense when he first told me this, because I'm thinking, like, okay, well, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm black, you white. You can go, but I can't go. But then when I did go, I understood more and more what he was speaking of. And then there's so much in, like, there's so much other things. Like, even if like my study is in early childhood education, but I still got to take, you still got to do the biology, the math, the English fucks me up all the time. Like I done felt English twice already. I'm like, man, leave that for the end. Like, but it's not even that it's the work. It's just it's tedious, and I tell a lot, and I tell my wife all the time. It's just like a lot of what they're teaching you is just they're teaching you how to lie, manipulate, and deceive in an intelligent way. They say use these words or say it under this pretense, and I'm like, no, motherfucker, you lying. No, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, the education part, if that's for you, then most definitely, I'm there. I'm not against it, but there's tons of avenues that an individual can go.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And I think sometimes you can just take, like you said, so many avenues. I just think, little classes or something to get a certificate. 'Cause like you said, a lot of times when you go into a school, everything is there to sort of program you.
Absolutely.
Just the way of the world. That's how they want you to think. That's how they want you to act. That's how they want you
Further
to
you go, the more programmed you are.
Right. And it's easier for them to control you that way because they
Yeah.
know exactly what you're thinking. They know exactly how you're going to act, or they think they know how you're going to act.
Yeah.
So like I said, I mean, like you said, the guy was telling you that, and you're like, you're there. Why can't I go?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, some stuff is just not for everybody, and I just think that unless I just think if you're in a more extensive career, I think that you should go to, of course. But other than that, it's too much other ways than in debt, because a lot of us go into debt trying to go to school, and then they get out of school and still don't have a damn job.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous to me. And it's sad because now you have all this debt and you can't even pay it. So, and that's going to hold you back. So, that's my thoughts on that too. It's up to the individual. My oldest is in college and she likes it. And I told her straight up when she went, unfortunately, I have no money for college.
Yeah.
So your grades have got to be up to par, which they were, but I don't know. I'm not going into debt. I'm trying to make it now. I can't go into $40,000 of debt for college, and then what?
Yeah.
I mean, so.
Yeah, you still got people paying on their college right now.
Absolutely, and that's crazy to me. So, to each his own, but it's just I think it's a get rich scheme to me. Get rich quick.
It's a lot more people. It goes different route these days. That make it a lot further. Really, all we have to touch on is economics. And as you see, my first question is, what is it? Because for me, it's like you said, I mean, I'm pretty intelligent. Been good with numbers. I know what livable wages is. I know, what mean to stay within and everything like that. But really, I have to be honest and tell you, like, economically, I'm really, I'm a bit ignorant. All I know is to make money. You know what I'm saying? And to make money, and like you said, I got terrible spending habits, poor saving habits. No real understanding of investing. Or no real money to invest, really, because it really takes money to invest, but no real money to invest. But I do try to give my son and children, my stepchildren, a different understanding of money. And I try to, like, in that sense, control their environments and put people around them who have a better understanding of it than what I do, because I have no problem with not knowing and allowing somebody else to lead if they know. So I just try to put them in the environments and in the classes that they need to be in, around the people that they need to be with. But living in Montgomery County, they all around money. They're all their friends. So it's something that, especially they don't come up with the same struggles that we came up in. They don't come up with the same worries that we have. thankfully we've been put in a predicament where our children's lives are to fare better than what ours did at that age. So, but economics is not my strong point. I can make $1, but I can spend it quicker.
Unfortunately, I'm with you on that. Growing up, I didn't have, like I said, my dad. I was the only child for a while. My oldest brother didn't live with us, and I just got pretty much what I wanted. So now, my spending habits, like you said, when I get money, it goes just when I get it. I've already spent my whole check in my head before it even hits my head. Days before it even hit my head, So we definitely try to teach the kids to save their money. They want, oh, I want this and I want that. And I always tell them, well, you want that, but you don't need it. Yeah. So if you want that, I think you might want to save your money up. And they do good for the most part, trying to save it. But then when they see something else that they want, they'll spend it easy. They were like, oh, I forgot all about this. Let me get this. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, you remember you're saving for this? Oh, yeah, well, we're going to save the rest of our money. Okay, whatever. Like I said, the oldest two are pretty good. If they want something, they're going to save their money to get it. The thing is, you're going to save your money to get it, but then you're going to spend all that money and then you have nothing. So then I think what I'm saying really working, because now you don't have any money, So yeah, economics is not my strong point either. And I think that is a problem just within, I just think, Black community, because I think we're the ones that struggle the most. I'm not going to say the only ones that struggle, but we're the ones that definitely struggle the most from that, because we're not taught that coming up. We're not taught to save our money, to invest our money, none of that. And I think some other races, they definitely teach their kids that at a very young age. Absolutely. Very young age. And I think sometimes, like, even the chore thing, you think like, some people say, oh, you pay your kids to do chores? And I'm thinking like, no. If they live in my house, like that's them paying their way here. At the end of the day, you think about it like, okay, if I pay them a chore, then when we went to McDonald's, I say, okay, you have $10, but you can get a Happy Meal before. You know what I mean? So that might help with, a little bit with the money thing. But I just, again, I'm sort of stuck in my way. I can't see myself paying you when you live there and you eat my food. I can't see it. Like, I can't do it. So oh no.
Yeah. I think it got to be some invested in there, because we gotta get a better understanding of investment. We gotta get a better understanding of multiple incomes, because even with saving, I thought I did a great job of saving this year. But there's things that come that just be like, that knock that saving right out the way. It's like, okay, you're back at square one. But if we can get a better understanding of investments, multiple incomes, and just that's, like I said, maybe we could look into trying to find somebody who have a better understanding and come along and give us that type of knowledge and give us different ways or different things that we can possibly do with money, or we can teach our children to do. Because there's tons of ways that money can grow. While you sleep. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't gotta touch it, you don't gotta worry about it. But if we're not in the know, we're not in the know. We don't really know.
Right, I agree with that. But see, the thing about that is, how do you? When we're in school, they have certain people come and do a presentation on this or do a presentation on that. In this day and age, if they're not learning it in school, I guess, of course, you would reach out to somebody maybe that or somebody else might know that can come in and teach a course on something that you specifically want them to learn. Because most of the times, most things like that are already set. They might have a course in economics, but we might not know about it. So it's like, if it's out there, it's not even put anywhere around us to even, to even teach them. Because if we don't know, I mean, I guess you can read up on it, of course, or, research, but if you don't know, then it's hard for them to teach them the information.
Yeah, I try to place people in their life. They got a better understanding, but still, nonetheless, like even, but once again, even as I do grow to understand, like you said, and like we discussed earlier, to know and then to act is two different tasks in itself. So even when I know a little bit, I still don't do right sometimes. Still resort to that old way of thinking.
Right.
Have closing remarks, share any resources or closing remarks.
Honestly, I don't have any resources to share. Right now, during this time, with all this stuff going on and us being in the house, and I feel like I have no resources. And I feel like you sort of have to, like I said about the class, about economics, it's like things that you have to sort of find out on your own. Because even though the kids are going to school on Zoom, I don't think that's enough. So yeah, I mean, I would love to find out some resources, or if somebody else knew any some resources to give, that would be excellent. But unfortunately, I don't have any. And maybe that'd be something to look into.
Resources. What kind of resources? Because I'm gonna give resources for the most part on parenting, or not necessarily parenting, but just child development, early childhood education. There's an organization, the National Association for the Education of Young Children, NAEYC, and you go.
NAEYC.
There you go. I think .org. It's .org, not .com, but .org.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can go there, and then it tells you the different practices, and policies, and researches. It gives you a guideline of what and where your child should be, the standards for the education, for it's the standards and where they should be. It's like I said, the National Association for the Education of Young Children. So they give you a better understanding of just where they should be, what they should be learning, different places to go to better educate on, better educate yourself on these type of things. So Maryland Family Network.
Okay.
And, it's like Maryland Family Engage.org.
Maryland Family Engage. Okay.
Yeah, that's that there you can go and pretty much like find anything, family engagement. You can go to that site and it's for Maryland though, but you can go there and they have a bunch of different resources. Like it's like workshops, resources. It's for the state of Maryland. It has a lot of different organizations, teachers, government. It's a lot of different organizations that go there and just leave resources. It's like a site full of resources.
Okay, yeah, I definitely want to check those out. Because like I said, I mean, I've been out of school for so long and trying to teach them and having the patience to teach them also. Because sometimes I'm like, that's a big thing for me because I feel like I have no patience in all the kids in the world. But yeah, something that can guide me and help a little bit better.
Yeah, that's education.com. That's go to education.com and that'll give you a bunch of different work for by grade and different subjects, different curriculum.
Okay.
But it'll break it down to you to teach you how to do it and give you practice workbooks and different things like that. You can
Oh.
print out worksheets if you want or different things. But it'll give you curriculum. It'll help you with curriculum. But it'll give you curriculum education.com.
Okay. You said which one is that one? What is it?
Education.com.
Okay, yeah, I got that one. Okay. Okay, I'm definitely gonna look those up. Okay, well, I mean, like I said, I don't have any closing remarks. I wish I would have
Okay.
been first, but
Well, nonetheless, I most definitely thank you for your time. Thank you for your insight. Very, very informative, very enlightening. And yeah, with that being said, Asshole Podcast, opinions are like assholes. Everyone got one. We thank you for hearing ours. Thank you.
thank you.
Deuces.